That's 6 o'clock, so I might just get going. Welcome everyone to the fourth and not final Irish 30 wellbeing session that we're running this afternoon or this evening for you. Hopefully you've all been involved in the other ones that we've had so far, but just as a quick introduction, my name's Roisin. I'm the secretary at the ISA, and my background's in health promotion. I'll let the two lads introduce themselves. Before we get started, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the various lands on which we're joining from today, and any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people participating in the webinar. I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and recognise and celebrate the diversity of Aboriginal peoples and their ongoing cultures and connections to the lands and waters of New South Wales. So thanks everyone for coming on board. This is the last in the kind of current series of Irish 30 webinars that we're running, but we will be extending those, and we'll explain a little bit more about that near to the end. This one is a little bit different from the previous ones, and it's really one where we'd like to allow and facilitate some connections between everyone. So really encourage you to get involved. It might be something quite different for you. Some of us are using Zoom all the time at work and some of us aren't, but it's a really nice way to show how we can use technology to stay connected. So I'll just do a little bit of the housekeeping just to kind of get us ready. If you want to move this slide on there, Ronan. Thank you. Okay, so just some logistics. We're going to do a little introduction first before we get into the activity. So if you want to keep yourself on mute, but if you've got a question, please feel free to come off. This is a very interactive activity and we want everyone to be involved. You can also use the chat function. We'll be keeping an eye on that throughout. So if you don't want to come off mute, please help yourself on the chat and we'll get back to you there. We will be doing things a bit differently and popping you into rooms in this section. So once you're in your room, if you could please come off mute, and you may wish to turn your camera on so people know who they're speaking to and know who's talking. That would be really helpful as well. And I'm going to hand you over now to Kevin, who's going to help us settle into this section.
Thank you, Roisin, and good evening, everyone. It's great to see some familiar names and faces, and welcome to those who haven't joined before. I'm going to do a little arrival exercise. So just a very brief background on me. My background is in psychology, mainly in performance psychology. Worked in sport for a long time and now do some very similar work in the corporate sector. Going to do a little arrival exercise. So I just invite everyone to just get nice and comfortable in your chair, maybe having your 2 feet on the ground, if it's possible for you, back nice and straight. And just going to invite us to bring our attention inwards. And if it feels right for you, just if you want to just close your eyes or just gently lowering your gaze. And perhaps beginning by just bringing attention to our connection points with the ground beneath. This could be through the soles of our feet, perhaps it could be through a connection with chair, just sensing into these connections. And really noticing the solidity of the ground beneath us. And we're just inviting attention to the process of breathing. In particular, noticing any sensations associated with breathing. Could be the rise and fall of the belly. Perhaps noticing a gentle change in temperature as the air enters through the nostrils. No need to change anything, just noticing this. And then in your own time, just opening the eyes and just arriving back into the session. So as Roshi mentioned, we're going to be focusing very much in on social connection this evening. So I'm just going to very briefly set the scene around this and just briefly discuss this idea of the social brain, which is something which is evolving really in research, particularly in the last 20 years, as technology has developed that allows us to actually look at human brains in various different scenarios. It's taught us a huge amount about our brain, how our brain works, and particularly how our brain works in the social world. So a theory around all this is that as humans, we would not have actually survived throughout evolution without other people. That was one of the advantages that we had, was helping each other out and helping each other through various different challenges. This has been confirmed by a lot of the scientific research which has happened in recent years. And what we know about the brain, the social brain, is that things like social rejection actually trigger the same parts of our brains and the same mechanisms as physical pain. And similarly, when we get recognition from somebody or from people who we value and we feel are important, that actually triggers dopamine responses in the brain, which are very similar to dopamine responses that can come from things like taking drugs like heroin and things like that. So there's pretty powerful responses from a brain perspective when it comes to our sociability and it comes to how we relate to other people. Similarly, there's a strong evidence base developing around emotional contagion, that if we bring a sense of positivity or we bring a sense of negativity, that can very easily spread to other people, which is probably something we've known intuitively for a long time and is just being confirmed by research. There's also a strong protective element to social connection, which has made the last few months doubly hard for everybody, in that when it comes to thinking about things like mental health, even around our more general well-being, social connection is always identified as being a protective factor. And it's very interesting that isolation, the World Health Organization categorized as being as being something that's at epidemic proportions throughout the world over the past 12 months. So this social connection piece is very, very important. And I'm going to now pass to Ronan, who's actually going to facilitate us through a bit of an activity or discussion around this whole area of connection.
Thanks, Kevin. And so for those who don't know me, my name is Ronan McDonald, and I'm the founder of CRED. I'm a professional certified coach, specifically in the area of neuroscience. So I help people learn about their brain so they can change behaviors and build sustainable habits. And we really want to build on the theme of connection tonight by doing a connection activity. So we're all here in the Irish 30 because of a strong affinity and connection to Ireland. So in a moment, we're going to divide everybody into some groups, and hopefully everyone's familiar with the functionality of breakout rooms in Zoom. So we're going to divide you into groups of 3, and we're going to do a 10-minute exercise. And we're going to invite everybody to introduce themselves to each other in their groups, and we're going to ask you to share a connection and a place of affinity that you have to a place in Ireland. And we want to invite you to share why a place in Ireland is really important to you. So before we break into our groups, and we want to give you a couple of strategies. So to build a sense of connection, we encourage you to listen to each other, to be curious, and to ask some questions. So I'm sure we all come from different parts of Ireland with different sense of connection, and different areas or places are special to us. And perhaps it's after this time, it might be a place that we're really looking forward to going back and visiting. So we'd love to encourage you all to share with each other. And then after the 10-minute session, we'd love to invite you to share with each other in our wider group. So I'm just going to get the break, everybody. Can I invite anyone to share? Lorraine, yes.
We had a lovely conversation. The three of us, I think we would have kept chatting. And yeah, just nice knowing, interesting what made going home. And 2 of us was that quietness of finding somewhere, a beautiful spot that we love. And then 1 of us was just her home, which is a lovely description of our home that's been forever. So, and the squeaky gate.
Yeah.
So it was just, it was very enjoyable and so easy we could have kept chatting, couldn't we? The 3 of us, like, it was so easy to get into. When you speak about something you love, I think it's easy to strike up the conversation.
Thanks, Lorraine. It's been really interesting to see everyone's face come back on. Everyone's come back with a smile on their face.
Yeah.
It's fantastic to see. Thank you, Lorraine. Does anyone else like to share anything that a great story or something they learned, or somewhere particularly they have a deep affinity and connection to, that they'd like to share?
It turns out we all know each other, or we've met each other in the past. It's kind of funny, and we've all got a mutual friend. How crazy is that?
You played the degrees of separation game.
Hi, Ronan, it's Paula here. Sorry, I've got very unstable internet connectivity. The one thing that struck me, obviously, I got paired with people that are relatively well known to me, obviously, within the ISA family. But the connect between the 3 was not so much about geography, but it was more about people. So people were gravitating, like in the 3 of us, we were gravitating towards memory. In one case, like generations of people being together. In 2 of the situations, it was the family gatherings around grandmother's houses and things like that. So it wasn't so much maybe about beautiful waterfalls or beautiful vistas or locations per se, but more about that home is that positivity in the memory bank in terms of our connections with family.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. So there's different types of connections we're all experiencing at this time, whether it be people or occasions or places. Thanks, Paula.
I'm just going to jump in. I was with Paula and Nicola as well. So as Paula said, we all work together. Like, so we have lots of meetings about ISA and all that stuff. So it was actually really nice to chat about, like, have a structured thing to talk about that wasn't about the ISA. And I feel like I found out more about, like, well, definitely Nicola in like this 10-minute activity than I have in like this year that she's been working with us. So that was really good.
Wow. And I've heard that from a few people as well, that a lot of our Zoom calls or our work interactions can feel very transactional, and we're missing that opportunity to really connect with people. And again, as I said, seeing everyone come back with a smile on their face, it's just been absolutely fantastic. So we can make some time to keep this conversation going if we want. There's a couple of logistics things we do need to talk about. I hate to kind of bring the party to a close, but we can finish off the logistics and then maybe stay on for some more time if people do want to keep connecting. Roisin, can I hand back to you?
Yes. Right, I'm going to see if I can do this and bring everyone's face up on time, so I can. As I mentioned at the start, myself and the lads are keen to continue this on. If everyone would still be interested in attending a monthly session, so maybe not just every week, but once a month, and just, you know, focusing on a new topic each week, and we might get some of the, you know, different people in the Irish community that are experts in different fields to come on and share some information and still allow that opportunity to connect. If there was an interest in that, we're really keen to keep running that. Even though things might be going kind of back to normal at the minute, it's still something that ISA was really keen to do always anyway. So I'm not sure how this tech is going to work, but we were going to do a poll to see which day would suit people best to do the sessions if we were to do a 30-minute session once a month. Obviously Monday is the night we're at, but we, Nicola kindly looked at some of the research onto webinars, and apparently Monday is not a good night for most people. So we thought maybe, you know, Tuesdays or Wednesdays, you know, a lot of people are socializing on Thursdays. So just a quick thing that we might do is, if Monday, like if you could just say which night is your favorite, and what, if you're all familiar with Zoom, the little bit down at the bottom that says reactions. So if you click into that, you can either do a hand clap or a thumbs up. Can everybody see that?
Mm-hmm.
So if your preference is Monday night, I'll get you to do thumbs up, then I'll clear them, and then we'll do Tuesday, and then we'll do, well, actually, maybe not preference, just say if you can do it, and then we'll take the majority. So you might be free every night. So I'll do Monday first. So if you can do a Monday, put that up. That's pretty good. All right, and I'll just give that a second. That will clear down in a second now, or you can take your own down. A Tuesday. So for Tuesday, it would be, so I should say Monday would be the first Monday of the month. So the first Monday of the month. Tuesday is going to have to be the second Tuesday of the month, because the ISA committee meeting is the first Tuesday of the month. So if that Tuesday suits you, put your thumb up. So Tuesday isn't as good. And
Sydney St. Patrick's tend to do their meetings on a Tuesday, but not that we do them every month, but yeah, that might just clash, I'm thinking.
That's good to know. And all right, what about Wednesday? So I'm thinking Monday might actually be the best night, it looks like. So happy to keep going with Monday. So we'll do the first Monday of the month at 6 p.m. So the